Okay, can everyone see and hear me? If you can't, pop in the chat and let us know. So I'm going to share a presentation here. 1 second, present. Great. So everything all cool? Mitch, thumbs up. Okay, great.
You're good. Go.
All right, great. So what we're going to talk about today is what we've seen as a biller for the industry around the reaction and of consumers to COVID. And we've been doing this more or less monthly since COVID started. So we're going to take you through we're going to take you through a kind of evolution. So how things have changed. We're going to show you some forecasts that we made. We'll tell you where things ended up going the way that we forecasted, and in some areas where they didn't. But we're going to focus on a couple of different countries as a way of doing this. And I think the way to get the most out of this is to think about your own business, think about what you've seen and what you expect to see going forward, because we're going to end with some forecasts. We're going to end with some predictions of what's going to happen next. So this is our 4-month update today. Some of you have been part of previous ones. I think John, you were there at the last one a month ago, so you can check our forecasts. So here we go. So Vendo is based here in Switzerland. I'm in Lucerne. This is a chart of the daily infections. I think it's something that all of us are looking at all the time. Personally, I had I got a little depressed 2 or 3 weeks ago. I felt like we kind of had it licked. I felt like this was under control, and now to see it coming back has been kind of difficult. And it's sort of said to me that we're in a kind of new normal. And I had sort of seen it as this kind of exciting thing, a big change. And now I'm just a little tired of it, I guess we could say. So that's kind of my personal feelings. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. Here are coronavirus cases in Switzerland. Here are the cases rising slightly. Deaths have sort of leveled off here. Here in Switzerland, we're not really social distancing any more than we have for the last 300 years, which is to say we social distance quite a lot here. So when we're in trains, we wear masks, but that's it. So restaurants are open, everything's normal. I was down in a sweaty club 3 weeks ago, and we had to do some contact tracing. So you had to enter your information, but after that, it was game on. So the agenda for today is to kind of explore a couple of different hypotheses for what's going to happen to the industry. And these are hypotheses that we had at the beginning. Are we the last man standing? Are we the kind of affordable luxury that people will keep spending on, a sort of essential service in a way? And even as other industries really struggle, and as the economies suffer, in general, large sectors of the economy suffer, that we'll be doing okay. The other is that there's a sort of short dip. So we have this sort of lockdown, but then it goes away. I think we're sort of moving away from this idea that there's going to be a short dip. It looks like we're in for the long haul now. And so the question, I think, is more on number one: are we the last man standing? So 25 is an interesting number. It kept coming up for us in our initial analysis as we looked at post-lockdown and pre-lockdown numbers. So at Vendo, we work with a large number of companies in the industry. We've worked with MindGeek since the beginning, for example, and we have access to a broad range of data. And so what we're seeing from that data, our clients allow us to share in a kind of anonymized and aggregated way. And you're going to see this number 25 keep coming up with both a plus and a minus sign in front of it. So all of the data that we're sharing is aggregated to see your own data in Vendo, you log into our back office, you log into data tools, which is here, and then you can select and compare. So most of what you're going to see today is a comparison of one time period versus another. So the initial data was post-lockdown versus pre-lockdown, what effect did it have? And then the most recent data will be the last month compared to the previous month, which is the default view that you get in data tools. So this is the filtering system. This is how you can go in easily and change any view and compare any collection of shoppers or any time frame versus another. So we're going to start with Italy, and then we're going to check out a couple of other countries. We'll look at Spain, Sweden, and we'll look at the US. We'll look at some Asian countries that treated coronavirus in a different way than in Europe and the US. So March 9th is really when things began in Italy. You had a very strong reaction in the stock market where there's a huge drop. This is the Italian market in Milan. And this is what we saw in Italy. So we basically saw the inverse. So as the stock market dropped, as people were locked in, we saw the market for this industry increase dramatically. So you can see how it kind of inverses. It was going down there, and then by roughly the same amount, it increased. So the immediate thing that we saw in the aftermath of the lockdown was a 25% increase in traffic. Conversion remained flat in Italy. And the members net change was up 45%. And I'll explain what members net change is. This is a calculation that we do of how many new users you have versus how many people have expired and left. And so we calculate that each day. And then this is an average over the period. So the members net change over this period was up 45%. So just doing some simple math, if there's 25% more traffic and conversion is flat, that basically means 25% more in sales. So to have a 45% net member change, far fewer people were canceling. So people are hanging on to their memberships rather than canceling. And that's a theme that you're going to see throughout the presentation. So that was an initial kind of 10 days before, 10 days after. 40 days in, what happened? How did things evolve? We saw traffic maintain at 20% up and conversion maintain flat. So in Italy, there's been a reopening. What happened as people had more options with their time, they were able to leave the house. We saw traffic still remain up at 16%, which is significant. Conversion dropped. So more browsers, fewer buyers. But net members was still positive. And this is really attributable to fewer people canceling. So people are hanging on to their memberships much more. And there you see the cancellation figure. So the reason that that's in green is that fewer cancellations is positive. So minus 13% is a good figure for us. So Mitch, I think we've got a survey that we'd like to put out now.
Okay. Which one would you? Oops, Siri. So yeah, let me get in here, Clay.
So the first question that we want to ask you guys is, how have you personally been affected by COVID?
Okay. Okay. So we've got that out there. If everybody can pop in, again, this should be anonymous. We'll give you 30 seconds to pop in and answer, and then we're going to be sharing the results. Is everybody seeing the poll? Because I'm not seeing not getting answers.
I saw one question. There's just one question, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, is everybody, I'm not getting answers, Clay, and I'm not sure if that's something, is everybody, okay.
I
Lucas,
said
you can,
it popped up right after you said it. Oh, here they are.
okay, so everybody's seeing it. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll just to see what happens.
Well, yeah. Okay, I think we were just seeing the poll
Yeah, I saw
result.
89% had somebody affected.
87% has somebody affected and 13.
I mean, Chuck could see the results. I shared the results.
Okay. That's,
Yeah.
Everybody said they
Okay.
weren't positive, so we don't have to worry about catching it here.
Good. Because I'm creating a big droplet cloud here as I talk, so I'm glad. So, okay, there are the results. So
Right,
family,
yeah.
okay, yeah, are you,
there we go. 89% know someone is positive. And no one thinks it's
How is that
BS from Bill
possible?
Gates.
Were you able to? Oh, multiple choice. I
Wow.
only picked one. That's why.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think even we have a lot of friends personally that thought they had it too. That's
Yeah.
you know, we should probably add that in there. Bill Gates used to be 5%. What happened?
Yeah, our entire village was tested, and most of us were negative. So,
Oh, okay.
Great.
Where are you from?
I'm in Manila. I'm in the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
Glad you could
So
join
they
us.
do
village.
village testing. I wish they did that here. San Diego has literally a few testing sites, and that's it.
Okay, guys, so we'll move on. So here's July 23rd. What's happened in the last month in Italy? I think what we've seen as people continue to open is that in the last month compared to the previous month, so the last 30 days compared to days 30 through 60, traffic is down 9%, conversion is down 11%, and the net member change is down 9%. So this you would say would be consistent with what you would expect. It's summer, people can be out, and so they are, as there's been more opening, and there are fewer people spending less time in front of computers. Interestingly, the cancellations are still down. So, so people are hanging on to these memberships, even though fewer people in Italy are buying.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Spain. Spain, March 14th, followed 5 days after Italy in terms of a pretty severe lockdown. In Spain, this is the Madrid stock exchange, basically fell off a cliff, as you can see. And then you had this same spike here in terms of sales. So again, this very opposite and dramatic reaction. So traffic was up 25% again in Spain, same pattern. So we're starting to get a picture of what lockdown does to traffic, or what it did initially. Conversion in Spain was actually up 25%, so a huge positive increase. So in Italy, we saw that it was flat, but 25% increase, so a compounding positive effect there in Spain. And the members net change reflects that. Huge increase in members net change. 40 days in, traffic was still up, so maintaining at 22, conversion still up, and June 23rd, traffic still up, conversion had dropped, and the members net had basically is flat or down at -1%. Cancellations still down. So we're starting to kind of see a trend with some of these countries that were early in the space and have been in the longest. So July 23rd, what's happening? Traffic basically flat on 2 months ago. Conversion essentially flat again. Members net is up, and the cancellations are still down. So people are hanging on much longer to these memberships than before. So what happened in South Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, places where you really didn't have lockdown to the same degree, where you had track and trace, there was a lot of testing, people were able to kind of live their normal lives. 10 days after compared to 10 days before, we saw traffic at 5%, not a major shift, conversion around 10%. So you can kind of contrast that with what is the effect of lockdown, and you can start to quantify it. So the last 30 days, traffic up 12%, conversion down 20. This is 40 days in, so we're kind of catching up with today, traffic flat, conversion flat, leveling off. And then now, the last month compared to the previous month, traffic up 22%, conversion flat, cancellations are up 16%, which is bad. So for most of us, what we're typically seeing in the summer is a big slump. And I think what you're starting to see from these figures is a kind of new normal, a behavior that's much more similar to winter time. Members net change there is positive 10%. So let's go to the US now.
Mm-hmm.
The US, of course, not a monolith, different effects, and different regions have taken different approaches. In the South, much more open. In the Northeast, there were big issues around New York. March 20th is when lockdowns really started to kick in. Here's the New York Stock Exchange. Because for the most of the country, there hasn't been this uniform lockdown, traffic was flat initially. Conversions were up 7%, perhaps reflecting some anxiety about what was going to happen. And so we made a forecast about what would happen when quarantine started. So 40 days in, traffic up 25%. Not surprising, right? This is what you would have expected after looking at the Italian data, after looking at the Spanish data. We kind of know how humans behave when they have computers and they're in lockdown and there's a lot of anxiety. So traffic up 25%, conversion up 25%. So similar to the Spanish figures. So June 23rd, traffic down 7%, conversion flat, and then we had net member down 8%. What's happened in the last month? Traffic flat, conversion slightly up at 6%, and net member up at 14, again reflecting the lower cancellation. Sweden, super interesting case. They just said, we're going to sit this one out. Not going to get that excited about this. We're not going to change what we're doing. We're going to be fine. A lot of people died, but they stuck with it. So 40 days in, no lockdown, no track and trace, some basic advice to kind of steer clear of each other a little bit. 40 days in, traffic is up 16%, conversion flat. June 23rd, traffic still up, conversion down 18% as weather starts to get warmer in Sweden. But the members' net change still very positive. So July 23rd, traffic still up. And again, these are compared to already high figures from before. So last month compared to the previous month. Conversion up 11% and members' net change up significantly. So on the whole, what we're seeing is a really, really positive effect for the industry overall. I think it's very clear we're seeing increases in traffic matched by either flat conversion rates or increases in conversion, and we're not seeing people canceling. So this is this pandemic, which is terrible for so many reasons. From the lens of e-commerce for this industry, sales and revenue, it's been a very positive, it's had a very positive effect. What's happened in the area of risk? One of the concerns that a lot of our clients have is that people will be running out of money, and that can lead to a big increase in chargebacks and a big increase in refunds. And it's something to prepare for. So our risk system is, since 2015, has been entirely run with artificial intelligence. So it identifies patterns and makes predictions based on over 100 different factors. And it forecasts the likelihood of chargebacks. So I want to share with you chargebacks and refunds. And I want to share with you what our model is showing based on the data that it has so far. So chargebacks in June, this was our forecast, John, you'll remember from a month ago. So we had June forecasting an increase up towards around 1.5%. This is for kind of Vendo overall. Many of these people are under the count, so it's not a concern to be over that limit. And this is what we've started to see. So now here in June, as of today, we have seen a rise, and we're holding to our prediction. The model's holding to the prediction, though slightly lower. So you're looking at around 1.2%. But definite increases underway in terms of chargebacks. Refunds, around a 2.5% average, had been kind of going down, or at least we're a little bit under the trend, this gray trend line, and then it's forecasted to go up. We haven't reached the end of the month here, but it's still forecasted to rise significantly here in July. So something to be prepared for. So what's going to happen in the next 30, 60 days? Our sense as a team is that we've reached a kind of new normal, that the world that we're living in right now generates more traffic, higher conversion, and less cancellation. That this is a kind of affordable luxury. This is something that's going to continue for the foreseeable future. There are concerns about risk and refunds that we need to look at. So this had been our forecast last month. We expected a decrease in traffic, decrease in conversion, and increase in cancellation. We were wrong on all 3 points, and that was because we missed the kind of second wave, or we missed what would happen when people started going outdoors more. So we're changing our forecast now to say we expect the trend to continue. So this is the new normal. So takeaways: conversion and retention continue in a strong way. Risk mitigation is the place to focus. If you have bandwidth there, then it's not an area of concern. If it's something where you're on the edge, then certainly it's something that you need to be looking at really closely.